Hi, I'm Bailie from the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast, POV Gen Z, and I'm here with my mentor, Mo. For the past 10 years, Mo has been my go-to for insight and guidance on basically everything, from personal challenges to navigating different relationships. He's a CEO, he's a consultant, he's an army chaplain, he's a pastor and a swim coach. He's literally the smartest person I know in real life. So, hey Mo, how you doing?
Well, that was quite the intro. I better say something good. Let's do it.
So, I've been talking about this leadership podcast with my inner circle and just, telling them what I've been doing, and they've been looking at me like have four eyes. They're like, "What are you doing?" Like, I'm so confused. What are you talking about? You're not a CEO. I'm utterly confused. What, like, leadership? Like, you work a 9 to 5. I'm so confused. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean you have a podcast on leadership? And my girlfriend Sarah was like, she was the prime example of like, we need to have a episode where we tell people what the heck it is that we're actually talking about, because when people think about leadership, they think about C-suites at work, they think about like titles in leadership. And I'm not like this, out here trying to be a girl boss. I'm just trying to be a good person. And I feel like it's really easy to fall into not being a good person, because it truly takes being intentional, like we talk about, to make good choices and to see people for who they are. So I just wanted to do a quick, well, not a quick, it's going to be about 45 minutes, but 20 questions with you on what leadership is, and kind of just get to the bare bones of what we even talk about here, because I think a lot of people don't really know what I mean when I say leadership. So my first question, and again, I'm asking all these things because as a girl who's in her 20s, I'm working a regular 9 to 5 job, trying to survive, trying to pay my bills. I'm such an average human being. Like, why does this even matter? Like, why does leadership matter at all? Like, who cares? So I guess my first question for you is, when we talk about leadership, what is leadership exactly? And what is leadership? Let's just take it from the top.
So I hope all your girlfriends are listening to this, because I want them to hear this. And I want all young people to hear this. Leadership has nothing to do with how old you are or how young you are. Don't be fooled by people who are older, meaning people in their 30s or 40s or 50s or older. Adam Carolla said in one of his books, when he was a kid, he used to look up to old people in their 30s and 40s and be like, wow, those people are so sophisticated and they've got it all together. And he said when he became an adult, he realized that he was that person in his 30s or 40s. He's like, these people are the same idiots that they were in high school. It has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with the kind of influence that you have. And so what is leadership? I'm going to use the John Maxwell leadership definition that I always use. You already know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it so that all of your girlfriends can hear. It's this: leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's it. If you have influence over people, you are a leader. And it doesn't mean that you are leading a group of 5 people at your company or an entire section of your organization, but you're a leader, because leadership is influence. And so I think that the young people in Generation Z specifically has co-opted the term influencer, and I absolutely hate it, because when you think of an influencer, you think of somebody at an LA influencer house or whatever it is. Those are not true influencers. An influencer is somebody who has influence over other people. Just because you and I are on this podcast doesn't mean that we are influencers. In fact, I don't want to be an influencer in the name that everybody else knows it today. I want to be a person of influence. Bae, whenever you and I have talked over the years, and I said this way before this whole influencer term came along, I told you when we would sit across from each other at Chick-fil-A every single week, 4 hours a day, 40 days in a row, I would say, Bae, you need to be a person of influence. So what is leadership? Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. If you tell your girlfriends tomorrow, hey, let's go jump off this huge bridge, and they say, well, but nobody's jumped off that bridge before and lived. And you say, but I think it's a great idea. I think we can do it. You're really excited. And they say, okay. And you guys all jump off and it doesn't go the way you want to. you are still a person of influence. It was a bad decision, but you are a person of influence. What I teach young people to do today is to be a person of influence in a positive way. The younger you can do that, the better you'll set yourself up. Kevin would tell me, Mo, you're young, you're 14 years old, but you can be a person of influence. Don't let anybody knock you because you're young. You can have influence now. And I'm telling you and all your friends and anybody else in their 20s specifically that you can be a person of influence in a good way. So the second part of your question, why do you want to be a leader? Because this world needs good leaders. There are more bad leaders than there are good leaders. There's a lot of people who think they're good leaders, but I'll tell you this, and there have been studies on this before. They ask CEOs, upper level managers, the question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a leader are you? And they'd be like, oh, I'm not a 10, but I might be a 7 or an 8. And then they ask their employees, and their employees would be like, dude, that guy, he's like a 2. He's horrible. He's the worst. Because we all think we're better than we are. And so what I like to do is help people understand how good they really are. Bay, how many times have you said, oh, Mo, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z? And I was like, that's not necessarily the best thing you can do. Let's talk about that. And you realize that's kind of dumb. I need to do better with my life. I want people to do better with their lives. And I'll tell you this, if you're listening to this right now and you're a young person, you can do more. You need to be an influencer now. You have to be a leader now, because the old people in the 30s and 40s, they don't know what they're doing. I talk to a lot of old people, and a lot of them are lost causes because they're stuck in their ways. They don't want to learn. They don't want to read. I asked a guy the other day, hey, what are you reading? And he's like, oh, I don't have time to read. I'm just so busy. Then you don't want to be a leader. And he doesn't. All he cares about is making money. He makes a lot of money, but who is he influencing? When he was on his deathbed, Steve Jobs had conversations at the end of his life. You know what he didn't talk about? All the money that he had. He wanted to be around people that he loved and loved him, the same as all of us. So I want to be a person of influence, because the legacy that I want to leave is that when I'm dead and gone and I'm 6 feet under and pushing up daisies, it's not going to matter, because I'm going to have Bailie, and by extension, people like hopefully Sarah and other people in the Mo leadership tree is going to be so big and so flourishing. I don't want people to remember me. I want people to remember what I stand for. And that's leadership and being a better person and being a man of God. And so I'm trying to do all those things so that when I hang out with Bailie, she is not in any way ashamed of who I am. I want my people that look to me to say, man, I really want to meet with Mo. I want to be around Mo. I want to be with Mo because he makes me a better person. So that's what leadership and influence is.
Wow. My first thing off the bat is, that's so funny you mentioned Steve Jobs, because at my church this past weekend, my pastor put up on the screen I guess one of the last emails that maybe he had wrote to himself. And it was basically just saying that he doesn't really know much of anything at all. He doesn't make the food that he eats. He doesn't make the clothes that he wears. He doesn't build the software that he uses on a daily basis. He doesn't really know much of anything at all. And I think, I don't know, I just thought that was really, that had something to do with anything. I just liked that you mentioned him. Anyways, so now that we know that leadership is influence, what is influence? Because you mentioned a really good point. Like, influencers nowadays have really taken up the definition of what the word influence really means in today's culture. So what is influence? Are you saying that influence is basically that you can convince other people to do things that you want, not manipulation, but like you have sway over other people to do the things that you do or that you want them to do? Essentially, or what? Well, how would you describe the word influence then?
Influence is the ability to affect people and help to shape their thoughts, to shape their feelings, their actions, the way that they treat others, either directly or indirectly. What influence is not is manipulation. Right. When I ask you to do something, it's not for my good, it's for your good. And leaders, if you want to be a person of influence, if you want to be somebody who is elevated to heights that you don't even know that you can get to, work yourself out of a job and help others get better, because they're always going to come back to you. I want Bailie to be a person of influence in her own right. I want you to have young people that are looking to you as a mentor and as a coach. Whatever I do is for Bailey's benefit. And so if you're a coach out there, if you're a mentor, if you're a leader, your job is to make other people better. And so how do you do that? Well, a couple of the key aspects, I guess you would say, of influence would be connection. It's all about relationships. Just like we said about Steve Jobs, when he was on his deathbed, dying of pancreatic cancer, it doesn't matter how much money you have. Death is going to come to you. And I'm not being morbid. I'm saying we all have the same fate. We all came in this world with nothing, and we're all going to leave this world with nothing. And so if you want to talk about what's beyond this world, I'd be happy to talk about that. I'm a pastor. I've been doing that for years. But you need to have connection. The first thing that I did with Bailie when she came on to the team at the college is I already knew who she was because I was talking to the other girls that had been on the team. I was talking to the other coach. I was talking to people that knew Bailie. And I already knew who Bailie was before she came. I did my homework. And I knew that she was bubbly and outgoing and all this kind of stuff. And when I met her, I was thinking, okay, this can go one of a couple ways. And as soon as I saw her in her first week of practice, I said to myself, this girl has not swam all summer. And was I wrong?
No,
I was
not at
not
all.
wrong. And I thought, man, everybody loves this girl, but she is going to destroy this team if she doesn't get some work ethic. And here's the thing. On our team, I was in charge of one group, but not another. It was never in my group. I just started connecting with Bailie, not as giving her sets in the water as a swimmer. I would just ask her about her day, and I would ask her about how things were going at school, and tell me about your family, and oh, you come from this background, and oh, you have a sister. Tell me about your parents, all that kind of stuff. And it took me a long time to make that connection with Bailie, but I wasn't in it for the short game. I was in it for the long haul. That's the lesson that I want people to know about influence. Influence isn't about quick connection. It's about the long haul. Are you willing to be somebody who works for the trust of others? That's why so many relationships fail. Secondly, you have to be a great communicator. If you want to be a person of influence, get better communication, period, end of story. You have to do it. If you're not a good communicator, you're not going to be a person of influence. You're going to say stuff and people are going to get frustrated with you. You need to learn how to express your ideas. You need to learn how to listen to others. A lot of us don't listen to others. Awareness and their social awareness. And most of us can't even get past being self-aware, much less be socially aware. Socially aware is being able to take yourself out of your body and move yourself to the side during the conversation and watch yourself having a conversation. When you can do that, you will be a person of influence. Let me tell you what most young people don't have, though, and they mess it up with the way that they're doing life right now, is this. And it's because of the internet, and it's the word credibility. So many young people are destroying their credibility out there. They're doing things, they're saying things on the internet that they shouldn't be saying, they shouldn't be doing, and they don't think there's any consequences to it. But let me tell you, there are real world, long-lasting consequences. Everything that you do is under a microscope today. Every time I write something down, that opens me up to scrutiny. That doesn't mean I'm not going to write. It means that I'm very aware of the things that I write. Every time I do one of these podcasts, somebody can come back to this in a year, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, and they can scrutinize what I'm saying. So I need to make sure that the things I'm doing and saying matter in the right way. Young people, you should care about your credibility. You should care about your reputation, but not in a fake way. You should learn how to be a person of influence, and credibility is going to get you there. And once you can do that, you can start having an emotional impact on other people. When you can grab people emotionally, when you can appeal to somebody and let them know, I'm on your side. And babe, we've talked about this before. When I'm talking to somebody and they're telling me what they're going through, I'm thinking to myself, how can I figuratively get on the same side of the table so that we're sitting next to each other doing life together? I want to be an empathetic person. I can't motivate somebody. I can't inspire somebody unless I really care about them. Young people out there, do you care about people? Because people make decisions based on how they feel. And if people don't connect with you, you're not going to be able to make an impact on them.
I think you bring up you bring up 1,000 good points in that. But I think something that I really grab onto, and again, just sticking with the theme of bare bones here for leadership. Influence, you become better at influence when like you said, you're connected with that person and you know what they want, what their goals are, what their ambitions are, what's important to them, what they are looking to attain in their life, and you help them get there. So I think that is like all in all with connection, influence is helping people get where they want to go. And it's not about where you want to go. It's about listening and, like you said, listening to other people and asking them questions to help them get where they want to go. If they don't feel safe enough to talk to you about their personal life, you don't have connection with them, which means you don't have influence in their life. So you can't move the goalpost a step further because you don't have that space in their life. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Influence is getting people where they want to go. My next question is this for everybody? Should everybody in our definition of leadership, should everyone be striving to be a leader?
Well, the short answer to that is yes. I think everybody needs to strive for leadership because there's too many people that throw that term around, leadership. And again, there are a lot fewer good leaders, right? If leadership is influence, there's a lot of people that have influence.
Right.
As a swim coach for young people, in fact, I just had a conversation the other day with one of my former swimmers, and that person was saying, "Gosh, Mo, I'm at a place right now in the real world. It's not going too well. My supervisor doesn't care." Yeah, I know. People are horrible at leadership. So don't be like that. Stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about other people. I want young people to change the world. I want young people to be the ones that are out there and coming up with the next big thing. You can't do that alone. Everybody out there should want to be a person of influence. You got to be in it for the long haul. That's what I in fact, this is what I'm going to say, and then I want you to speak to this as a person in Gen Z. But I come from a generation where I've been working hard and paying my dues as long as I remember. In fact, I remember Kevin telling me, "Mo, you've got to pay your dues." And so I just work hard, and I want to work harder than the next person. And one of my mantras as a coach is nobody cares, work harder. That's it. But I feel the younger generations see all of these influencers all of a sudden making it big, and they think, I can do that. I want to do that. And then they're throwing away every other talent that they have, and they're not working hard anymore. They're trying to make it big fast. Am I on the right track? Is there that there's more of I'm just going to be an important person and I'm going to be an influencer?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't, it's really weird. Even for me, like you mentioned earlier, my work ethic takes a minute. I can be naturally really lazy and I truly apathetic. But when I have my mind put to something, I can work harder than anybody. But it doesn't really matter. Like, I feel like back in your or like the generation before even, it didn't really matter if you liked it or not. You worked hard at what you did because that was who you were. That is definitely not where we stand in life now. I don't care. Like, if I don't care about something, if I'm not passionate about it, there's a very small chance that I'm going to be working hard at it. I'll probably just be sleeping. Will probably be what will actually happen. But I look at my boyfriend, Nick, for example, and my gosh, I can't, like, I feel like was born in the freaking boomer generation because he is up at 5, doesn't go to bed until late, and he's constantly working hard, whether that's at his job or he's always doing something. I don't understand how he is living, how he's alive. I truly don't get it. I sleep probably half the amount of time that he's awake doing things. You're so right. That trait that he has is not something that I see on a regular basis at all, even in myself. And I think this might be sexist to say, but I feel like a lot of girls especially see a lot of like really pretty models who are just like making it to fame because of them like dancing on TikTok or like taking pictures for a brand or anything, really anything for like product based content. And they think because they're pretty, there's so many pretty girls out there that they're like, oh my God, I can totally do this. I'm going to just post a selfie and like do a brand, which is like awesome. If that's what you really want to do, it's great. But like you said, it seems as if they're trying to take a shortcut just to get accolades, which I am absolutely on that train. I would absolutely / have wanted to become an influencer like all these other girls who are so beautiful and like have their own, because first comes beauty and then and then a lot of the times comes their brand and who they are and what their business is. It's like so many times it's like first they're a model and then all of a sudden they have a clothing brand or like a skincare brand or whatever the case is. So a lot of girls are trying to get into the limelight that way that maybe they can start their business in the future or like whatever they're actually passionate about, instead of just working hard at what they're passionate about and seeing if they can make it that way. Not saying that you can't try to do both, because everyone's trying to be famous nowadays. So if that's how you make it, kudos to you. But it just seems like that is the typical pathway that everyone's taking right now, instead of just working hard at what they actually want to do. Yeah, and
how does your generation feel about that? All my friends, I can go back and see all the things that they've done, and I'm excited for them. Are people excited when other people make it? Maybe it's just because everything is so out in the open and everybody's in everybody's business now.
There's definitely a lot of mixed emotions, I feel, when people see others getting successful. And I'm just going to take it from a stranger perspective. Like, you don't know this person and they get famous. They're not like one of your friends or anything. But I take like one of like the most beautiful girls on my Instagram. Her name is Paige Lorenz. Every girl knows her. She's like the cutest person ever. She's iconic. Everyone loves her. But does everyone love her? I mean, is she stunning? Absolutely. Does she have the coolest brand ever? Yeah. Am I a little bit jealous of her? For sure. For sure. Like, if I could be Paige Lorenz, would I be Paige Lorenz? Yes. I would. Yes, I would. There's not even a question. I would be Paige Lorenz in a minute if I could. But I feel like I see one of my other favorite influencers, Emma Chamberlain, who I've loved forever. I really give her, she's somebody who I feel like I can support through and through, no matter if she makes mistakes, whether or not she's, maybe making a dumb decision or she says something that's like off-putting, or because I feel like she really is so anti-cultural to what the rest of the world is doing. Everyone out here is trying to be a beautiful model. She chops her hair off platinum and like doesn't wear makeup and wears like 90-year-old man glasses. Like she cares about coffee and she cares about making people laugh. Those are her two, in fashion. Those three things she loves. I was just listening to her podcast of her wanting to be more interesting rather than pretty. And she was just kind of going off about like, do I look prettier with longer hair? Yeah, I would say 90% of the people would agree with that, but I don't really want it. That's not my goal, is not to look pretty, it's to look interesting. So it depends on the influencer. I think it depends on what they stand for. But for me, you kind of have your categorical models who turn into like some kind of brand. And then you have your like Emma Chamberlains, for example, who really was working at being funny. And so she became a YouTuber at first. And that was what she was passionate about. Then her other passions got to have another pedestal because of her fame. So she had a coffee company now, and she's at every fashion show ever. And she's a huge icon in the fashion world as well, hosting the Met Gala, like doing all these things. So there's definitely a mixed bag of emotions. There's probably some girls who hate influencers through and through, because at the end of the day, most of the influencers are not influencing them. And I think that answers the like bigger question that you might have had, is that these girls are only influencing us to buy things. Really, the only thing that they influence people to do is to buy makeup, do workout routines, eat certain meals. Like, a lot of it is based on beauty, which is awesome. If you didn't have a morning routine and you wanted to follow, I'm just picking on Paige Lorenz, but if you wanted to follow her morning routine and do like 6 a.m. wake up, green juice, walk 5 miles, work out, take shower, use all of these products for skincare, like, great, I'm so happy for you. But a lot of the times what I'm finding is that a lot of girls my age are finding that to be too, it's like we went from one extreme to another. We didn't know what celebrities were using for products, and now we know way too many products that they use and or don't use and just promote. And we don't really know. It's too much information. It's too much information, and we feel overwhelmed. And everyone has a different 6 a.m., 5 a.m., 4 a.m. routine. Going to bed at 6 p.m. It's like, what? I work till 6. I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, I think that's a long roundabout answer. Yes, there are mixed emotions when it comes to influencers' success. And also, a lot of the times we don't really even know what they're influencing us to do besides purchase things. So I guess that kind of leads me into my next question. With these girls, like Paige Lorenz, Emma Chamberlain, these girls, they have influence on millions of people. And whether it's good or bad or both is like, can you categorize them into bad leader, good leader categories? Like, I love Emma Chamberlain. Is everything that she stands for something that I support from a moral or ethics basis? No. But I love her to death. Like, I love her. I feel like we'd be best friends. I feel like I relate to her so much. I feel like she influences me in a positive way. Maybe sometimes it's negative and I don't even know. But how can you categorize these quote unquote influencers, now that we're kind of changing the definition of influencer right now to like Instagram people? How do you know that those people are good influences or bad influences, or good leaders or bad leaders?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love that discussion. I really hope your friends hear this. I hope that all young people, regular young people, regular meaning you're not making millions of dollars. You're getting up, you have a 9 to 5. You're trying to prep your meals for the beginning of the week and get done on Friday so you can have some fun and get away for a wedding or whatever you've been doing and get back so that you can start it. Like most of us are regular people. And I love regular. I love when people make it big. While you were talking about both Emma Chamberlain and who was the other one? Paige Lorenz. I was going to say Sophia Lorenz, but I think Sophia Lorenz is more my generation.
Oh, I think that's your sister. Who knows?
Who is she? Hold on, let me see who this girl is.
Paige Lorenz or Sophia? Who is Sophia Lorenz? I feel like
never mind. I'm thinking Sophia Loren.
I was going to say, Sophia Loren is still in my generation, I think, but I don't know who that...
Yeah.
Sophia Loren looks 90 years old, so that's definitely not her.
Sophia Loren was the old school influencer. She was born in 1934. So whether it's Paige Lorenz or Emma Chamberlain, I wish them all success. I hope that they hang out with good people. I hope they have good mentors and coaches and men and women who will love them for who they are and not what they look like or what they can sell. The problem is when you get to that status, you said it best. People are going to use you for whatever shelf life that you have. And the shelf life is getting smaller and smaller these days. So people are trying to make as much money as they can for as quick as they can because you never know what's going to happen. The best way that I can equate it to is child actors. There's been a lot of child actors from my generation who have been really hurt or abused in certain ways. I look at them today and I feel so bad for them. And I think to myself, where were their parents? Where were the men and women who were coaching and mentoring them? Because I know for me, I wasn't on that track of being a child star or anything, but I had to make decisions. And I hung out with people specifically from my church when I was in high school, Kevin and his whole staff, another guy named Kevin and Bob and Scott and all these guys, parents and college people that I looked up to, they were the ones that were influencing me. They were leading me. They were leaders in my life. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. Your question is, what are the differences between an influencer and a leader? Let's break it down. I'm always talking to you about purpose. In fact, one of the things that I do at the end of every year, remember when we used to go through the goals for the next year, and I would have
my nightmare. My literal nightmare.
I would have you fill out the sheet, and you hated it because it makes you think about what you're going to do to be somebody of importance, not in a way where you're going to be big and famous, but how are you going to make good decisions for yourself and for others? Okay. So when we talk about purpose, I'm always asking people, what is your purpose in life? I would ask that to you. I would ask it to Emma. I would ask it to, was it Sophia Loren?
Paige Lorenz.
To Paige Loren. I would ask any of them, what is your purpose? An influencer's purpose is to be someone who attracts attention. They share ideas, they promote products, like you said, lifestyle, different concepts like that. Okay? A leader's purpose is to guide, to inspire, to achieve, and not just achieve by themselves, but achieve with others. You see the difference there? That's the difference of purpose. So what are influencers focused on? They're usually focused on self-centeredness because they have to be. Their brand is themselves, and they're building their personal brand. That's what you mean when you say they're very pretty and outgoing, and all of a sudden, then they get the makeup line. Then they get the clothing line. That's the focus of an influencer. The focus of a leader is group center. Leaders can't think about themselves because they're thinking about others. They are others focused. Leaders focus on the team. Are you an influencer or are you a leader? So let's talk about the scope of influence. Influencers, their scope of influence probably has to do with specific effects of their behavior and the behaviors of others and opinions on fashion, fitness, technology, whatever it is. That's what their scope of influence is. What's the scope of influence for a leader? Leaders are trying to influence attitudes, behaviors, outcomes, not just for themselves, but for the broader team. Let's talk about connection. We were talking about connection earlier on. Influencers are trying to create a connection with a broad audience, right? They want to bring in as many people. Their connection is to create a broad audience, and they do that through their content creation. Nothing wrong with that, but that's what they're focused on. When a leader's trying to connect and dealing with connection, a leader builds deep relationships with individuals and teams, and it's all about trust and collaboration. That's the connection for a leader. Okay, let's talk about method. How do they do it? Well, an influencer, the method that they're going to use, they're going to rely on their personal charisma, their authenticity. You said, why do you like Emma? You like Emma because she's authentic. She doesn't care about how she looks. She wants to have good ideas. Hearing you talk about Emma Chamberlain, and you've talked about her before, always in a very positive light, it seems like she's really trying to do something bigger than herself. And I'm hoping that she is surrounding herself with people that she can use that method. Because again, influencers are all about relatability. But why do they do it? Because they want to gain followers. They want to gain consumers. Okay, so then what's the method of a leader? A leader is going to rely on his or her decision-making process, their vision setting, their goal setting, how they motivate others to take collective action. You see what the theme is here?
Yes.
Personal as opposed to team. I'm not done. What's the time frame of an influencer? What did I say? It could be short-term based. It could be trend-based. You never know, especially in today. You're only as good as your next post. That's what it is. If you want to be in front of people, you need to be on TikTok.
Yep.
You want to be on Instagram. You probably still have to be on Snapchat. You probably have a presence on Facebook, even though you don't want to. And it's a bunch of old people because you never know. You don't want to become irrelevant. The time frame can be very short. Let me ask you this before I get to the time frame for a leader. Who is the most successful movie star presently alive? Who would you say is the last true movie star?
Wow.
There's a right answer to this.
Oh, there is? Tom Cruise?
That's the one.
Really?
Tom Cruise. Good job, babe.
Honey.
You just gave me single-handedly a reason to believe in Generation Z. That right there, that you believe that Tom Cruise is the last true movie star, tells me that there is hope for your generation.
Great.
Tom Cruise is a movie star because Tom Cruise is always bigger than everybody else. Everybody knows Tom Cruise, whether it was in the 80s or whether it's now in Top Gun Maverick. Right? I knew him from the old Top Gun. You know him from the new Top Gun. And even though there was that other guy, the heartthrob, the young guy, Miles, whoever his name is, he's still not Tom Cruise. That doesn't mean he's bad. He's a good-looking dude. He's a funny guy. I like him. But he's not Tom Cruise. So the time frame for most people, if you're not Tom Cruise, is what I'm saying, is very short. So what's the time frame of a leader? Leadership is going to focus on long-term impact and legacy. What's the last chapter in John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership? The law of
Law
what?
of legacy.
The law of the legacy. Kevin calls it the long haul. Mo, you're in leadership for the long haul. Let's talk about responsibility. What are influencers responsible for? Well, they have a limited responsibility. They're responsible for themselves, for their own actions, and they maybe have a little bit of responsibility for what their followers do. And you don't want to be a jerk because your people might be jerks and then they're associated with you. And I'm sure you can think of one or two influencers. He's a jerk. She's a jerk. Well, I would say there's some culpability there. What about a leader's responsibility? A leader's direct responsibility is for the success and the well-being of the team. Again, they're responsible for other people and the impact on people. And lastly, and I think to put a bow on it, well, where does the authority lie? The authority for an influencer is informing. It's based on popularity, expertise. Somebody might not. Who knows if I think it was Kylie Jenner? Is she the one with the makeup line or whatever? Does she know
The lip
anything
kit.
about? Okay, does she know anything about that more than anybody else? Probably not.
No.
There's probably a lot of girls out there that can do as good a job or better, but they're not Kylie Jenner. And so she is hoping that her popularity and her expertise gets her that authority. That's fine. But I want to live where the leader does, because where is the leader's authority? Somebody like Bae says, Mo, I want you to be a coach, to be a mentor in my life. That's a designated role. Or it could be informal. It could be earned, again, through trust and respect. I want to be both. I want to have the authority like our relationship where you say, Mo, I'm giving you that authority in my life. And I want to be an informal authoritative leader and have people say, man, I think I want to do what Mo's doing. I think that's cool. I trust what he says. I hear the things. He's pretty consistent. And for that, I respect it. So those are some specific key aspects that are different between influencers and leaders.
Not saying that they can't be both, right? Because they can. Like, Emma Chamberlain can be a leader and an influencer at the same time, but they're not separate categories all the time, right?
Well, I would say it's very difficult. When you think about an influencer, you have to be focused on yourself. You're the brand. Leaders are about other people.
Is this, okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to like put two and two together. When we were on APU Swim, we had a rock star of a swimmer named Abby. And Abby, her, like, even everyone loved her. She was so sweet and so hysterical. But her, like, main contribution, how she helped our team tremendously, was through her performance. Her performance would carry us to the top. If we didn't have Abby, we were not getting anywhere. But she wasn't captain. She didn't want to be captain. She wanted the team to succeed, but she had other things to be worried about. Like, she was trying to focus on making the team number one. So is that similar to this? Paige Lorenz and Abby are just trying to like bring their brand and their team to like to make them good, and then there are other people inside their brand or inside their organization that add more of the character or like leadership quote unquote aspects to things. Or like, is that kind of what you're trying to say?
What I used to talk to about, and I do this always when I have a very talented student athlete like Abigail. She was incredible, loved her to death. She worked really hard. And my goal was to have her work to achieve her very best, because she was the best. She had more talent than anybody else on the team. She had more drive than anyone on the team. And I love that about her. I love that about student athletes like that. She's kind of like a Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was never going to be the coach of a team, because Kobe Bryant's job was to be the best. That was his contribution to the team. He would be able to lead on the court. I've read a lot of books on Phil Jackson, the coach of the Lakers. He was able to get Kobe to understand you need Shaq if you're going to win these championships. His job was to be the best, and he was. But it was Phil Jackson, the coach, who was able to say, Kobe, I need you to work with these other players. Same thing with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was the best. If you ever want to watch a great series, you need to watch The Last Dance about their last season. Michael Jordan needed Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and all the other guys. But the way that he did that, again, was the coach, shockingly, was Phil Jackson. And so Phil Jackson, I would say, is the true leader. Not saying that Michael Jordan couldn't be a leader. He was a leader on the court, but he led by example. When I talk to student athletes with that kind of talent, like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Abigail, who I'd put in that same category, I would say, Abigail, you need to lead by example. And that was tough because she was so driven. Sometimes it was difficult to do that. And she did a great job, and she succeeded. And everybody loved her because she was able to do both. But it was tough. What I want to do is take people, find out where they are in their journey of influence. They can still have an influence, a positive impact on other people. When I talk specifically about influencers online, that's a tough job. And again, hey, if you're going to make that money, great, go for it, do it. I hope that you are surrounding yourself with good people so that at the end of the day, when all that fame and your looks and all the money is gone, you can say, man, I'm so glad about the journey that I've taken. And I'm glad that I've been able to do that. And because I've got money now or I've got fame, I can use that to influence people in a positive way. But for the rest of us who are not influencer fame, I just want the people that I hang out with, whether it's you or the other young men and women, CEOs and upper level management people, I always have the same message, which is be a leader, focus on other people, guide and inspire, help people with their attitudes, make them better so that people will look back and say, gosh, I really love being around that person. That's what I want from my leaders.
So again, just to be clear, whether or not you are a influencer on a mass level, you are a leader in your small circles. Everyone is a leader in their small circles because everyone has influence, whether it's good or bad, on others' actions, right?
Let's talk about the overlap between influencers and leaders. Can you be both?
Or more just like, really, Mo, more just like me compared to, yeah, I guess that's actually exactly what I'm asking. Me compared to Kobe. Kobe's main goal with his friend group is the same as mine. We're both trying to be good friends, influence people in the right way, right? That was exactly, actually, you were about to exactly answer what I was actually going to ask. So go ahead.
Influence is a core trait, whether you're an influencer or a leader, okay? So a great leader, because I'm always looking for great leaders, a great leader is a person of influence, but not every influencer is a leader. What do I always say? All leaders are readers, but not all readers are leaders. All leaders are influencers, but not all influencers are leaders. Both influencers and leaders, they have to be effective communicators. That's what makes you big. That's what makes people follow you, right? And they both have an emotional connection. The reason that I hear you saying that you follow Emma Chamberlain and have been for so long is you have an emotional connection with her and you've never met her.
Totally.
Because she can engage, right, with her audience. And when she's talking about something, you are looking at the screen and saying, yes, that's me. I know what you're saying. You are huge. You got millions of followers, but I get it. I feel like, Emma, you're sitting across the table from me because she's got charisma. She's got communication. Both influencers and leaders use effective communication. They use the emotional connection to engage with their team. So just like an influencer gets on and they do put their food together or they put on their makeup or get ready with me or whatever that influencers are doing these days, leaders are doing the same thing. They're saying, let's engage together and let's do something big together because it's all about the impact. Because there's a potential to create change, whether it's personal or organizational or hopefully on a societal level. And that's what I want to do. I want to connect with people and impact them on a societal level.
So just to make sure that we're getting it. So, because again, I love that we have celebrities like Kobe and Paige Lorenz and all these people to like kind of help create similarities with. But again, our average people that are going to be listening to this and who I really want to be speaking to are the average people like me. And I just want to know that our main goal is the same main goal as other leaders, which is to influence people in the right way. So when I look at Sarah, who is one of my best friends, introverted, doesn't really like talking, is extremely regimented, loves having a scheduled routine every day, is on it in that way. I know that when I can be encouraging her because she doesn't see herself as a leader in like, societal standards and definitions, but I do because she's influencing me as a friend. She's influencing her coworker, Mike, and her other boss, Sarah. So I'm like, she doesn't believe she's a leader because she doesn't, look like Donald Trump, but she is one because she has influence over other people's lives. Like, I just want to make sure, like, that people know that that is the real reason for why we talk about what we do. Because yes, our goal and your goal specifically is to create change on a societal level. But for girls like Sarah, who can't even get, to the idea that she's a leader at all, she's not thinking about changing societies. She can barely think about like influencing her best friend. So I just like want to make sure that that's heard. No, leaders, you are a leader if you have influence in somebody's life, whether that's informal, like you said, or formal. So yeah, do you have anything
So
to
for
say to
somebody
that?
like Sarah, I would say this. Your job, whether you want to be a leader or not, is to be a person of influence and be a person of positive influence, hopefully. So what Sarah wants to do is ask herself this question. We all want to ask this. This is the question that I ask every time I get done hanging out with somebody. Are they better for having had me in their life? Are they better for having been around me? And if the answer is yes, then you know that you are a person of influence and you helped them somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you do that, the more people there's going to be something different. People are going to want to, they're going to want to be around you. There's a lot of people that do what Emma Chamberlain does, but Emma Chamberlain is just, she's got the it factor. There's something about her. There's something that people love, and that's great. What I want young people to do, what I want you to do, what I want Sarah to do is to ask herself at the end of every interaction, is this person better for having had this conversation with me?
Mm-hmm.
All we should be doing is encouraging people, lifting others up, and making them better. That's all I do with people. When I talk, I had a conversation today with somebody I'd never met. And it was this lady, and she was talking to me about some stuff. And I just asked her questions, the famous Mo questions that we may talk about sometime for leaders to know the right questions to ask. And this lady talked for like an hour. I didn't have an hour. I was late, but I couldn't bring myself to do it because she started talking about family and about work. And at the end of our conversation, she was like, "Thanks so much for talking." And I was like, I didn't say 2 words. That's what I want to do.
Didn't.
I tell you all the time, babe, talk less, listen more, ask better questions, and you will be amazed what kind of positive influence that you have on other people. Sarah, that one's for you.
I'm getting it. I think I'm getting it. I think whether you have like super talent like Kobe, or you're really funny like Emma Chamberlain, or you're stunning like Paige Lorenz, or you're so smart like Sarah, my roommate, whatever your talents are is where you'll be able to like kind of give back or influence others the best. Everyone is going to be doing it differently, right?
I think that's exactly it. Kobe Bryant, to the day he died, was trying to influence young people, was trying to influence others to be better and pushing them to be better. That, to me, is influence. That's leadership. He was able to bring the best out of people. Leaders, that's what you should be doing. You should be bringing the best out of people. People shouldn't be around you and be thinking, gosh, I don't want to be around this person. They're just nagging me. They're telling me what to do and all that. They should want to be around you. They should want to talk to you. When people talk to me, when they walk into my office, well, I've got questions. I'm there to listen. I'm ready to influence. And usually the influence that I do is I'm usually just listening. So start with that. Everybody can listen. I'll bet you Sarah is a much better listener than you. And I'm not knocking you, but Bailie just loves to talk. She's the life of the party, but it sounds to me like Sarah's a little bit more reserved. Sarah's got the upper hand. If she just asks questions and listens, and Bae, you could give her the 5 magic words that Mo says to be a relational genius, and she can start there, and I guarantee people will be like, there's just something about her. There's something about that girl, Sarah. It'll happen. Trust me. And before you know it, you'll be a person of influence, and then you'll be learning it on an intentional basis, and you will have people that are looking up to you as a coach or a mentor.
So my last question for you is, so you kind of get to choose where you influence people, because again, I'm going to take Sarah, for example, because she's so good at so many different things, but because she's a chemist at work, if she chose to, she said, I don't really want to be, um, like talking with people all the time about their life and like hearing what they have to say, all this stuff. But I would love to help an intern that's coming in to the workplace with, being better at chemistry and like putting things together better and being a better employee and helping them with like anything they need help with on the work side of things. You can choose, right? She's still being an influential leader, might not be to her most like biggest capacity, but you kind of get to choose on what levels you influence and what level do you want to be a leader on, right?
Absolutely. When we talk about leadership, you've been hanging out with me so long, Bae, that you're thinking about the way that I think about my life in leadership. I'm a leader who influences leaders. My goal is to hang out with leaders and make leaders better. For somebody like Sarah who just says, I'm just trying to do my job, and if somebody comes along, I'm willing to help them, that is great. Lead there. Lead where you are. Somebody comes in and I could teach this intern and I don't want to know about her life and I don't want to know about anything. Okay, great. Tell them how to do the chemistry stuff and just be there and listen. But Sarah, I have bad news for you. When you start helping somebody, they're going to start talking about their life. You're going to be doing the chemist stuff and you're going to have a Bunsen beaker and have it over the fire. And the person's going to say, Sarah, I can't concentrate today because, my boyfriend said X, Y, and Z. Sarah, that's when you have a chance to say, hey, tell me about that. Well, what do you mean?
Gosh, you're literally a mind reader, Mo. You're actually a mind reader because that's exactly what has happened with her and this coworker named Mike. She has been his supervisor they were like equals for a very long time. He's much older than she is. Then she became his supervisor after like him being there for 20 years. And now he's like kind of giving, like, there's been a little bit more conflict there. And she's having to have those harder conversations and pull out influential tactics and like actually be an influencer in his life because she's the leader in the workplace now. So, God, you are so good at reading minds because that's so true. Like, it's a domino effect. If you start off by saying, nope, here's my boundary, which, by the way, Sarah and I are reading boundaries together. If, this is a boundary, like, we're not crossing this, I just want to help you with chemistry, nothing else. Like, don't talk to me about your life. And then all of a sudden, a mic happens and he's now talking about, his life's purpose and how he doesn't really feel like he's accomplished anything. What the heck are you supposed to do? You have to be ready for when those conversations happen because you don't know when they're going to happen, but you should be prepared for when they do. What's that one quote?
Everybody's going to be called to be a leader sometime. The question is, are you going to be ready? I hate to break it to you, Sarah. It's time to ask questions. If you're a supervisor, it's time to lead. It's time to influence.
Gosh, that's so true. You can't escape it.
Sarah, I believe in you. You're going to do it. I expect a good report from Bailie next time I talk.
Well, that was really helpful. I feel like a lot of my friends now will be able to say maybe that they understand a little bit more about what I'm trying to tell them. But yeah, I guess the moral of the story is that when we say the word leadership, we're not talking about a multi-million-dollar CEO. Like, that's actually the last person I'm talking about. I'm focused on, as me and Mo call it, the Bay Project and how I can be better, what I need to do to turn inward and be a better person for other people. And I'm trying to do that with myself and my inner circle, like a lot of my other friends that are seeking more, like wanting more of like, how do I become more relational? So to heck with the CEO that's, $1 billion CEO. I'm talking about Sarah, Loho, me, Lindsay, like girls in their 20s who are trying to be good friends and make a difference, leave a legacy, essentially. I want to be somebody that Sarah in 20 years says, wow, I remember Bailie and I were going through this exact situation and we had this conversation and this is what happened. That's the goal. Thank you for explaining all of that, Mo, and dumbing it down a little bit for us. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I want to leave you with the last word, though.
So there's a great phrase, and the phrase is, quote, "It all goes back in the box," close quote. And it's used in a book by a guy named John Ortberg. It's a book a long time ago. It's called "When the Game is Over, It All Goes Back in the Box." And so just remember this: when it all goes back in the box at the end, whether you're Steve Jobs or you are somebody who has influenced a few people, or if you're somebody that was struggling just to live your whole life, it all goes back in the box. So if nothing else matters except for relationships, what are you doing today to be more of an influence? So I'm serious when I say to Sarah, it's your job to ask good questions, because you don't know when the people that report to you, like in this case, that guy Mike, he may or may not be there the next day. He may go somewhere else or whatever. Your job is to influence where you are now, especially if somebody is underneath your care. That's what leadership is. She's got positional leadership. It's time to change that leadership into something that can give to somebody what that they can't really give back to you. And that way, when life is over and all goes back in the box, and that box is lowered into the ground, you can say to your dying breath, I did everything that I could to be a person of influence. And whether I influenced one person or 1 million people or somewhere in between or whatever, that you did everything that you were supposed to do. So that's how you can lead well.
Wow. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Rising Tide Leadership Podcast, POV Gen Z. If you find yourself confused or that you don't know anything, or you're not really even sure that we are in the same boat and we are here together. And I'm really glad I'm not alone. So thank you so much. And I will see you on the next episode.